Hi, my name is Nick Burnham and I'm here for Motorboat and Yachting today down at Darthaven Marina, having a look at the steps that you might want to think about taking before you put your boat back into the water. Now there's a couple of things to do on the outside of the boat before we get on board. The first is anodes. It's worth checking that your anodes have been replaced. Obviously it's much harder to do once the boat's in the water. Another thing to think about is your exhaust. Quite often engineers will put rags into the exhaust. That stops frost getting into them, and also there have been situations where birds have nested in them in the winter, so rags in those will stop that happening, but obviously you want to make sure those are removed before you're launched. And finally, check your log spinner. When you've been antifouling the boat, sometimes they can get jammed up, and of course it's much harder to free those up once they're in the water than it is giving them a quick flick before you launch. Now the last thing you might want to consider doing while you're on the outside of the boat is filling it up with water. One thing you can do here is you can put a bit of Milton or other water purifier in and just run that through first. It'll just freshen things up a bit. Now the next thing to have a look at is in your engine room. As far as engines go, you want to check your oil levels, make sure they're up to the marks, and the same with the water. Check that your water coolant is up where it should be. If that's disappeared completely, you need to investigate further, because that is indicative of a more major problem. Check your belts as well while you're here. Also batteries, you want to think about your batteries. If they've been taken off, they clearly need reinstalling. If they haven't been, then it's worth making sure that they are well charged up. Seacocks need to be turned on so that you're ready to go when the boat is launched. And finally, some boat yards take off the propellers. Clearly they want to be back on the boat before it goes back into the water. Now moving inside the boat, one thing you do need to do is purge the fresh water system, and that's dead easy. Basically, because it's all been drained down for the winter, you'll have lots of air in the system. Just turn all the taps on right the way throughout the boat, showers, in the toilets, here in the galley, and just get all of the air out of the system until it's running smoothly again. Now the final thing to do before you go back into the water is basically just make sure everything works. Run through all your electrics, check your bilge pumps are working, check your nav lights are working, switch your VHF radio on, maybe make a radio call, check that's working, check your navigational gear, and just make sure everything is up and together. And finally, if you watched my winterization video, the last thing you need to do, make sure you put your transom shower head back on.